Hello, welcome to Canna-Flix. My name is Emmy.
And I am Beatty.
And this podcast is a weekly event, hopefully, where we go to see a film and then we get pretty high and then we talk about the synopsis of the film with spoilers and what we think about it and also weed.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoy. This is our first episode. Now, the movie that we saw this week for our first installment is Father Figures, rated R for some reason. I guess language.
There was some language, a little bit of language. There was some adult subject matter to be had.
It was about 2 degrees from The Parent Trap, honestly, but then with a lot of, fuck yous.
Like, you know, when you don't have a joke, so you just rely on saying a phrase or something for the humor, and it still doesn't come. Like that.
Yes. So much of that. We saw this film at Escondido Stadium 16.
It's a Regal.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Regal has Tuesday economy days where tickets are like $7. So
if this was a day to see a not great movie, you know, this was the day.
They are not as nice as the many lovely theaters in North County, but they had the movie we wanted to see at a reasonable time.
Yeah.
There's this no man's land of films in the middle of the day. After 4, you're just you can't see a movie till 7.
It's there is only matinee and evening showings. There is no afternoon.
Yeah, so we went all the way to Esco to see this.
The only real downside of the theater is I didn't get my Cheetos popcorn.
They didn't have it yet.
Yeah. I was a little bummed, but it was okay. I can't fault them for not having product.
Yeah, work on that, Escondido Stadium 16. And the cannabis product of the episode is a strain called Northern Lights. It's an indica. It's definitely well known, but I've never tried it. And I used a Heavy Hitters battery and a gram cartridge that I received from my job. And it's nice. It's just a really traditional indica. Everything's a hybrid, but this is pretty, sleepy. So it tastes like a Christmas tree that the cat got to, and then it caught on fire for 3 seconds, and then they put it out, and they were it's salvageable. We only lost 5 ornaments. So that's Northern Lights. Let's get into the movie.
Okay, so this film, let's start you off. In this film, Owen Wilson and Ed Helms are twin brothers, which I didn't think that they were going to be twins until they actually said they were twins. I was like, oh, okay.
If you fed that to me, I'd be great.
Yeah, I don't see it. Glenn Close is their mother. She's about to get married to Harry Shearer, actually, the voice of half the cast of The Simpsons. That's why I got really excited. I was like, oh, hey, you're here too for some reason. It's during this marriage, sometime after the ceremony, that Ed Helms kind of has an epiphany and sees some guy while he's watching Special Victims Unit, and he's like, oh, that's our father, based on this photo you gave us, where they both have the same birthmark. See, he's got the birthmark, Fo's got the birthmark.
And he's such a jerk.
Yeah, he's not, the way he reacts is ridiculous. He needs to calm down 5 notches.
When you start, you're this is Meet the Parents, and you're no.
Yeah, it was that very forced, humor where it doesn't feel natural. Everybody's talking. It's just no, I must speak as specifically this one-dimensional character. But anyway, he calls his mom during the fucking wedding. We need to have this conversation now. And they find out that this photo of their dad that supposedly died when they were very young is not their dad. And she sends them on a quest to find their father, which goes from famous football players to burglary to really bad Boston stereotypes. And
yeah.
So shall we go on their magical journey together?
Yes.
All right.
Let us take you on the journey of Bro Mamma Mia.
Oh my god, it totally was.
Yes. So Peter, played by Ed Helms, is this, like, he's not a bad person. You're just like, we would not be friends in real life.
He just is miserable constantly. For starters, he's a doctor. Let's explain what his profession is, because it does figure into the plot.
Yes.
He's a doctor.
He is a,
proctologist?
Yeah. Proctologist. He does colonoscopies mostly. Yeah. And he pretty much, like, kind of hates his life. It's clear that he's going through, like, a divorce, and his child, horrible actor, doesn't like him. But he kind of brings it on himself.
Yeah, like, he just has that aura of sadness, like those people with the cloud over him. That's just Ed Helms' character. The whole movie. Most 90% in the movie is that sense.
He's such an Eeyore.
So, yes, that's actually the best way to put it, is an Eeyore. But his mother is Glenn Close, for some reason.
Which is amazing.
Like, I love seeing her in whatever. You know, if she shows up, I'm like, hey, it's Glenn. She's getting married. I don't know if she got married before. This is her first marriage. But either way, she's getting married. She's marrying Harry Shearer. Again, wonderful Harry Shearer. And at this wedding, his brother shows up, his twin brother, Owen Wilson.
I know.
Again, you wouldn't believe. I thought they were, like, one was the younger, one was the older. Nothing about them says twins. But anyway, they haven't seen each other in 4 years. Owen's depicted as kind of this aloof, not fully aware surfer dude that lives in Hawaii.
As he does.
It's Owen Wilson playing every Owen Wilson stereotype. Like, if you ask people what they thought Owen Wilson characters were, and you, like, make this horrible amalgam, it's this.
And the costuming is interesting.
I did want that jacket, though. Like, of things I liked from this movie, the horrible leather or white half Hawaiian print jacket was a cringe fantasy. I did want that, not gonna lie.
He has this super hot girlfriend, and apparently he makes his money by being the logo of a barbecue sauce.
Like, he lives off the royalties of this photo of him in silhouette, so I don't even know if you really would get royalties from that. I don't know how that works. Which he gets, like, was it like 3 cents a bottle sold? So, I mean, this has got to be a really successful barbecue company. Let's talk about that. Like, that is some sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is some sauce they make. And you see it everywhere. At one point, it is sitting, during Glenn Close's, like, wedding reception, you see it just randomly sitting on a back table behind them while they're talking.
It's a large part of his life.
It's just, he is the sauce man. No real responsibility, just, oh, the universe. And he does the cringy, the speech at his mom's reception where he does it in, not Portuguese, I'm thinking.
Oh, Polynesian?
Polynesian, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I was thinking, yeah, so he does that horrible speech and you cringe and you're just like, oh no, you're that guy.
Yes. He's kind of the worst. And you're like, you know, you feel for Ed Helms or Peter, because, like, that's how we act when we're at, like, family gatherings. You're just, like, over it. And Peter goes away from the party and watches Law and Order because that's his thing. And
you know, when you're that person in the family, I feel like almost everybody's been that person in the family, where you have your book or something and you go sit out from the rest of the party and you're like, no, I'm just going to do this instead. He does that.
Yeah.
And his thing is Special Victims Unit.
And he notices, he's watching this episode and he sees someone that he thinks is his dad based on a photo that he has of his mom, Glenn Close, and this guy. He notices a birthmark and he's like, that has to be him. So he confronts Glenn Close.
And Glenn Close is like, oh, that's just my friend from college. I didn't think he would do this. And he's become like a small-time actor. And she's like, yeah, that was actually my friend. That's not your dad. I made all that up.
So Peter is totally crushed. Owen Wilson is like, whatever, mahalo, man, the universe. And he's the worst. And then, so Peter's like really pissed off. He's making things hard. Retta is like the wedding photographer, like biggest waste ever.
Yeah, like first random ass cameo was, I was like, Retta, why? No. Oh, before this happens, though, when they're talking to his mother, can we talk about the commentary about their mother that they constantly make?
Yes, that she was like this 70s hoe.
So there's a running gag constantly talking about how loose of a woman their mother is, and it gets old. It gets old real quick.
It's very bro.
Yeah.
And it's
lazy.
It's not supposed, like, it's not funny because adults know how to talk about sex. It's just like, oh, your mom was like, she totally slept around.
Yeah,
and it's like, who says this?
No, but that's the thing. This is not dialogue that real people say. This is what, like, caricatures and stuff of people, but not actually real people.
So
that's how I can put it.
Peter starts to get really upset because he's like, who's my dad? Just come out with it. And she says, sports, like football retiree and sports commentator
Terry Bradshaw.
Yes, this happened. And Terry Bradshaw acts in this movie, and he's honestly like one of the most believable people.
He tried. Compared to the dead eyes of some of these actors that are clearly there for a paycheck, Terry Bradshaw, wanted to try. And, he does try. So they fly to Florida. I think this was the first of several unnecessarily long traveling montages of them traveling to Florida.
It like a music video.
Which I think is because this is male Mamma Mia. We can't have show tunes, but we can have, like, traveling montages, I guess, are acceptable in the spectrum.
And cheesy family movie score.
Yeah.
Which you would be like, am I watching Cheaper by the Dozen, or is this a rated R film about brothers?
And it does, like, the panel cuts where it's like, ooh, shot here, the little collage.
Like, this is not Woodstock. Stop it. It wasn't even good in that documentary. Just don't do that.
So one unnecessary long travel montage takes him to Florida, where Terry Bradshaw is Florida. Yeah, it's Miami. Terry Bradshaw is opening a new car dealership. I don't know if this is based on anything in reality, if Terry Bradshaw is into cars now, but they go to a signing, mention their mom, and he's like, oh my god, you guys are my kids.
He believes them immediately.
Yeah, and ignores Owen Wilson in a gag that goes on entirely too long.
It's nice because, like, up until that point, I was like, this is so Ben Stiller. I hate it. But then when Owen Wilson started getting ignored, I was like, yeah, okay, like
and so he immediately takes him to his home to meet his then wife, who's the voice of reason, where she's like, why are you letting these people in? Like, are they gonna be con men? It's like, oh yay, first voice of reason in this film. Wonderful, wonderful woman. But then that gets taken care of real quick.
BTW, this film does not pass the Bechdel test.
No, nope.
I was just thinking, I was like, his wife had such a small part. Retta had such a small part.
Their mom had such a small part. There's
just all these, like, hot women just coming in and out of the movie.
Oh, I almost forgot. The air stewardess.
Oh my god! Yeah, was that the first flight to Miami?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Owen Wilson discovers on the flight to Miami that his brother, like, hasn't had any sex with anyone, except his wife, who he divorced, like, 3 years ago, and he hasn't slept with anyone since then. And Owen Wilson is just boggled, because I was like, okay, like, there's a whole cultural thing that you have to, like, constantly smash, like, if you're a dude. And so Owen Wilson's like, we gotta get you laid. And Peter's, like, clearly uncomfortable. And he tries to, like, get him to hook up with this stewardess who's being pretty flirty. She could have just been doing her job.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, she's in customer service. That's why she's nice to you.
That's probably, like, what guys hear.
And he's in first class. He's in first class, too. So, they're gonna be extra nice, I'm assuming. Very accommodating, even on the back of her head. She's like, no, stop.
Yes, right. And he's really awkward, but honestly, he had, like, the best response. Like, they were talking about honeydew for some reason.
And he starts going on the, I am anxious. I'm going to start rambling about facts and getting really uncomfortable very quickly, and I don't know how to end the conversation. That thing.
Basically, and I'm glad because the hostess didn't need to, like, it would have been so uncomfortable and they decided not to. Good for you, father figures.
Yeah, that's one. We'll see how we get at the end. See what we get to.
Yeah, so they start talking again about how crazy and wild their mom was.
Yeah, Terry Bradshaw's just sharing fucking really, gross stories.
Yeah.
Something about, like, her dick-sucking ability, basically. It was some joke like that. And then they're throwing footballs on a beach. And Owen Wilson is finally getting the ball thrown to him. And he gets knocked the fuck out by Ving Rhames. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name right. Who, I don't know why he was there. He was there for this one scene as expositionary dialogue, essentially.
Yes, that's all.
Yeah.
It's like somebody wrote in their journal, and then Terry Bradshaw's their dad, and then they play football with him on the beach in Miami, and his wife is so hot.
You didn't tell me you had the screenplay with you, Emmy. I would have brought my copy. But yeah, that's basically how this story feels it's written. And I don't know if this is a good time to talk about tone. The tone
Yes.
of this movie, the humor goes from being, where it feels like these are almost real people, kind of like The Hangover, where the personalities and stuff, and they're just odd, so that's where the humor comes from. And then it just goes to these jokes and stuff that are, again, it's this clearly unrealistic, like very, like almost like Leslie Nielsen comedy, where it's just so just out there, and you're just like, oh, okay. And then it shifts to something where they're having an emotional moment, and it's just this really weird up and down roller coaster of this movie. Felt like maybe the first couple drafts it was like a dramedy type thing, and then they decided this needed more dick and fart jokes, so they shoved it in there.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, we want to cover all the demographics. Instead of making something good, we'll pay all this money for these actors, and then, make sure we get the crude humor in there somewhere.
So just, the tone is just... So, during this conversation with Terry Bradshaw and Ving Rhames, they do some more exposition, and they figure out, oh no, it couldn't be Terry Bradshaw, because they were more than likely conceived during this time period where he was gone somewhere else and she didn't go with him or something like that. So they get led to this next guy who was like some corporate Wall Street dude. So they go from Miami to, I think it's upstate New York.
Upstate New York, yeah.
And they go to this house that's, windows are papered up, it's really creepy, and J. Jonah Jameson from the Spider-Man films, J.K. Simmons, shows up with a little gun to their heads, and I was like, yay, J.K. Simmons! This can't be awful, it's J.K. Simmons.
Of course.
But, unfortunately...
No.
His was my least favorite of the dad segments, was his.
It was so confusing.
It just...
He lives in this house with his mom, and they're so, like, angry. Like, there's a moment where finally it's like, okay, like, you're not here to rob the house, you're not here for anything bad. He gives Peter the gun, and they're like, he's like, come on inside. So, and then they get inside, and he's like, here's my mom, and then she freaks out because Peter's holding the gun, and then he brings out another gun, be like, forgetting that he gave the gun to him.
Just gave him a gun, and you're just saying, it's like, no.
That was the joke.
That's the joke. No.
I laughed.
And in the house, you'll notice right away that there's packages of stuff everywhere. There's like several flat screen TVs. There's boxes of, I think it's like Sierra Nevada. Like just things that are clearly boxed up around this house. So,
Modern day Grey Gardens.
Yeah. I was like, are we doing a hoarder situation, or we're probably gonna go stealing shit? And then there's the grandma. The lazy joke of the grandma that says random and or offensive stuff at times. Also, she has this necklace. I don't know if you saw it. It was like a grandma necklace, but then there was like a padlock like on it.
Interesting.
And I sit there like, was there like an edited joke somewhere? I want to know why. It was very distracting for every time.
Some of the like hair, makeup, outfit choices
was lazy.
Were just confusing.
Glenn Close in her first outfit, she's getting ready to get married. I know she wants comfy shoes. She's wearing wedges with this outfit and it doesn't work, and I don't know why. I was very distracted by the wedges.
That
Yeah.
was so lazy.
Thank you.
She had flats. It was like, better have her wear these if she's going to be on her feet later. And it's like, she's wearing fucking heels.
And I think, I can't tell if this was a wig thing, but it looked like you could see where the lace front was on her forehead, but I was trying to figure it out.
Ooh.
There's also several moments where Owen Wilson looks like he's wearing a really bad wig too, and I can't tell if it is. Hair was a little distracting. But anyway, J.K. Simmons, lazy crazy grandma. J.K. Simmons is a quote-unquote, like, repo man. And they're like, yeah, let's help you out with the repo.
Yeah, they pull up to this, like, mansion, and there's a red Ferrari in the driveway, and he's like, this is the thing, like, you're gonna hear everything, you know, that you typically hear. I never missed a payment. Things like that.
Glitch in the system.
Yeah, check your system. It had to be a mistake. So they're like getting ready to help him. It doesn't seem odd to them at all. He's wearing a full-on burglar costume.
He looks kind of like Negan in The Walking Dead, where, you know, he's got the black leather trench coat and like the jeans. Like, I was just waiting for the bat, but he's got a crowbar in this instance, and then like a fucking black beanie. And I kept waiting for him to pull it down, and it has like the cutout eyes in the mouth hole. Like, that's how subtle this outfit is. And he's just crowbarring it right there in this dude's driveway, and they're just standing there, which this is a very wealthy home. I feel like it should be gated. How did they get the gate open? I've just been thinking about that for a while, because at that point you're trespassing, which I don't think you can do as a repo man. Maybe there's weird rules, but I was just like, this is a very gated community kind of place. Like,
yeah.
They clearly broke into the house. And then is it John McEnroe shows up, and it's his car? It's like the weirdest weird cameos in the movie. I think it's John McEnroe.
And his random whatever wife, because there's tons of those.
Oh, you think I'm a model? Nobody thinks you're a model. You're 5'2". I just sat there like, this is a really weird joke.
I know. They're like these waspy people. And then he's like, finally, J.K. Simmons is like, okay, you know what? I got the paperwork in my car. I'll be right back. And that doesn't like cause a signal to Peter or Owen Wilson. And
immediately trusting. Just
yes.
so immediately trusting in this movie.
And then finally, the husband is like, you know what? It's not worth fighting over. I'm just gonna get my checkbook. Honey, go get my checkbook. And the checkbook is a rifle? Shotgun?
It's some very high-powered assault weapon.
Yes.
Which is funny because she has it and she tries to shoot them. And they are like, oh no, we gotta take the car for Dad. And so they back out quickly down this really long, windy driveway. So good on you, Ed Helms. Oh no, Owen Wilson. But I guess you are Lightning McQueen, so I guess you can drive. And then they back into somebody, they hit them. And they're like, oh no, think we hit a person. And it's their not dad, as it turns out, because we cut to the hospital where he's in the hospital, the dad is, because he got hit by a car. Police are there because they know he's trying to rob him. And the nurse is like, hey, your blood donation didn't work because you guys had different blood types. Oh no, we're not related.
Yes.
Gotta go.
That's how they went about it. So, Ed Helms is done. Peter's done. And he's like, I'm done with this search for Dad. And you can't be done with the search for Dad because you've only spent 2 dads so far. There has to be at least a third because it's a magic number.
And this is where we have our first emotional thing. Yeah. Because I think this is where Owen Wilson finds out he's not going to get royalties for his barbecue sauce money anymore.
Yeah, conflict.
And he's been spending all this money on his brother because he cares about the journey to do this. And he's like, oh no, I'm also going to have kids on the way. What am I going to do? I don't have a real job. What do we do? But he's going to hide it from his brother so his brother can complete his quest to find their dad.
So Owen Wilson is just not giving up. Like, Ed Helms is like, we're going home. And they start, fighting in the car on the way to the airport. And then we have our magical black man.
This is a technical stereotype. It is, if you research film, they call it the magical Negro. Think, Song of the South. Think it's Bagger Vance that Will Smith's in The Green Mile. the magical African-American man that comes in to fix the white people's problems.
Essentially,
but the joke is you also don't know if he's gonna murder you. Is he or is he not a murderer? Because
they go straight to that, actually. Yeah. That's like the first thing. It's Cat Williams, bless, and he's on the side of the road with a sign like, I'm going north. You know, he's just looking for a ride. And he says, well, first of all, they fight over pulling over. Owen Wilson is like, let's do it.
Eye contact.
Ed Helms finally makes eye contact with Cat Williams. He's arguing like, yeah, you can't give eye contact. Otherwise it's over. You have to pull over. It's just awkward, which is horrible. You should always give eye contact to people who are homeless to purely acknowledge their existence.
And their humanity.
Yeah. And so he pulls over, and Owen Wilson has this super uncomfortable conversation with Cat Williams because Ed Helms was like, oh, he could be a serial killer. He could be a murderer, a rapist. And so Owen Wilson is like, I was uncomfortable, but at the same time, it's like, well, he's putting it out there.
Yeah, they make this joke. It's like, black people aren't serial killers. Pulls over. And then they have this conversation where they keep asking him if he's a serial killer, but he never quite doesn't say that he's not. So they kind of come to a compromise where they'll give Cat Williams a ride to the train station, but he has to be tied up, which I thought was going to lead to a joke about them crashing and then cops coming and thinking they're a serial killer that has kidnapped this man.
That would have been clever.
I was waiting for that, but no, we go... something else entirely happens.
So that whole conversation just goes away. It never comes back.
Yeah.
It's just weird because, like, he's tied up, and the next scene shows why that's a problem. They're fighting so much that they're literally punching each other, and Ed Helms wants to go home. Owen Wilson wants to keep, searching for Dad. They start picking at each other and
they
stuff.
Stop on the road in... you think it's backwoods country. And then while they're doing this, Cat Williams' character's sitting in the back, and you start hearing the familiar sound of the old train a-coming with the light. And it pans out, and they're clearly on a railroad track, which, I'm sorry, it's fucking obvious. The fact that they're stopped on this railroad track, I was like, no, we're not doing this, are we? And so the argument continues, and they don't realize it till almost the last second. Ed Helms is getting out his seatbelt. He can't quite get Owen out, but there's this poor innocent Cat Williams in the back that can't do anything because he's tied up. So Ed Helms jumps out of the car, gets Cat Williams, they throw themselves to the ground, and Owen Wilson, still in the car, gets hit by the train.
Yes. And now, what's interesting is Ed Helms is immediately crushed.
Yeah.
Immediately sorry they were fighting, very clear. And then Owen Wilson just walks up. So I thought he had gotten out of the car and we just didn't see it.
What I had hoped for was he had died. Like, I wanted this tone shift to just happen where it's like, now it's real. No, and it's not. If he had just been on the other side of the train, I would have been like, okay, he dodged, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
No, you see the smoke coming from the end of the train that has finally stopped, and you see the wreckage. And in the smoke, you see the silhouette running towards him.
It's so dramatic, like the reaction and the way it was like presented. You're just like, he totally died. But at the same time, it's a comedy, so you're like, he didn't die. But he got hit by a train, and he just gets out and runs. I'm like, you at least hurt your neck. Like,
yeah, there would be some severe whiplash. Statistically, I mean, I'm not an expert on, like, trains, or word problems where if a train is coming at Owen Wilson this many miles per hour, how hard will it hit him? I don't know. But I feel like 90% chance he would have died, at least.
Or they would spend the next scene at the hospital because they make you go get checked out.
And then think about that, if they had done that. That's a bigger financial issue. This is taking a bigger toll because now he's got all these hospital bills from their dad's surgery.
Right.
There's kids on the way. Guys, let me read your freaking screenplays and fix them for you. Let me do this.
And here's the miraculous thing. Because this wasn't logical and they didn't go to the hospital after that wreck, and Cat Williams is still, like, by their side. Like, he's totally rooting for them. He is definitely the magical Negro. And so, like, here's the thing. Ed Helms' insurance is so good. I mean, he is a doctor, so he's making enough money. It is so good that not only were they like, yeah, it's going to cost you a lot of money on your insurance after this happened, but hey, here's your rental car that we drove out to you.
This was really confusing to me because I feel like they would have gotten arrested for something. The cops just let them go after they just, potentially ruined the train.
You can get sued by, like, the railroad.
Yeah, the railroad, for sure, because that was clearly, if, Cat Williams is giving a statement. The cut to Cat Williams at the end of this big joke about everybody jumping up and down so happy. Again, weird tone moments. Based on Cat Williams' statement, they clearly were being negligent in their driving.
Mm-hmm.
Stopped in the middle, could have killed a lot of people. Yeah, you get sued. I'm pretty sure you'd at least go to jail overnight. Cops are like, no, guys, your car's here, you're ready to go. And I'm like...
In fact, they even get their next clue about their dad from these cops.
There are no characters. There's just exposition via people. It's just
stereotypes giving information. And then these brothers who are painful to watch.
Yes.
So they find out, they got, like, this nickname, like Sparkly Pete, from J.K. Simmons. That was the last hint that they got from him about who their dad might be. And they're like, that's just a nickname. They mention it, and the cops are like, Sparkly Pete, we know him.
He is legend.
He is a Boston Irish Catholic stereotype. And
you might as well have had the Dropkick Murphys start playing music in the background, because this is where we go with this.
So we have more montage of good old time driving.
See, this would have been where Dropkick Murphys came in. Yeah.
Yes! Their motivation is back. They drive to, I think they said West Massachusetts.
Yes.
And, on their way, they stop in a hotel, and there's this, like, weird joke with the front desk worker.
I thought maybe I wasn't understanding what was happening, but they start speaking to this guy who, first of all, is ignoring him. I'm like, haha, whatever, rude desk guy, whatever. And then he just speaks in, just like this, just really low whispers. And I'm like, that's the joke of the entire scene.
Exactly. Just him. And I enjoyed him, but that was all.
That was literally all he did, was give them a room in this conversation. And then we cut to the bar at the hotel.
Yeah. So they're having some dinner, and Owen Wilson leaves for a second, goes to the bathroom, and Ed Helms goes to sit next to this woman who's crying at the bar. And she looks like Gwyneth Paltrow, but she is not.
She is not.
And he just strikes up this conversation, and whereas before he would have been very awkward, he's gone through some apparent character growth.
Like, immediate, no transitionary talking to a woman. Just, I'm assuming straight normal. To be fair, this is where I said I wasn't going to wait and went to the restroom and missed the rest of the scene, so please inform me what happened.
So he you saw, like, what he opened with, right?
Yeah.
He said something like...
joking about making women cry.
Yeah, it was, like, such a douchey opening line.
I would have immediately been like, nope, bye. Like, window closed.
Yeah. And so this girl who, like, doesn't exist, and they introduce each other, and then he says, like, he's all smooth all of a sudden, and it's, like, working, and it would never work. He's like, I'm a secret agent. And...
oh, does he really?
Yes. He says, I'm a secret agent.
Oh, Lord.
And then she says, oh, well, aren't you, like, not supposed to tell me? Because it's a secret agent. And it's just this pointless conversation. Then she's like, well, I'm a secret agent too. And, like, I poisoned your drink. And for a second, I'm like, please knock him out. Like, I was like, please let her be so crafty and not lead to, like, other shenanigans.
Yeah.
Not that that's ever funny in any context. He was just being so rude. And she was like, oh, charmed. I'm like, stop.
Like, make it turn into Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, like that kind of thing, where she's playing him. I was like, yeah, let that happen. Wow.
But that didn't happen. They totally hit it off. Owen Wilson notices when he comes back and is like, oh my God, the chance to get my brother laid.
I'm gonna go chill in the car.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna sit in the car. He is like FaceTiming with his girlfriend in Hawaii and stuff, and tells her the truth about their financial situation, that he's not gonna get royalties from the barbecue sauce bottle anymore. And so I guess shows that he has a good character for telling her, at least.
Like, he waited a bit, but it didn't feel like he stretched it out till like they were destitute. So I was like, okay, Owen.
Yeah.
You're not the worst.
Right. It shows that he was good to like give his brother some privacy and told the truth and all that.
I feel like he has more character growth in this movie than Ed Helms does. Like, I feel like he might actually learn a lesson. But anyway.
And Ed Helms and Gwyneth Paltrow look-alike hit it off, and then it's funny because I was like, they go back to the hotel room and they start like making out and stuff, and like Hall & Oates' Sarah was playing,
and
I was like, yes, and I was like, why are they using this song? Because I was like, this is definitely a hookup. They're not going to see each other again. It's him, like, being sexual. But they made it, like, this really tender moment. Like, they loved each other. And I guess we find out later why. But I was like, why are they playing Sarah? And then you find out later, oh, her name is Sarah.
Yeah.
That's so fucking corny. Like, I had forgotten all about her because she's so forgettable. And then
she doesn't have a personality.
It's not her fault.
I'm sad, but you're sad too. We're so sad. Let's be sad together. And
then this beautiful song plays, and you're like, stop it.
And then there's that joke. He warns her. He's like, I don't manscape. And first, I thought it was going to be like a pubes reference, and I was like, whatever.
I know.
And then he takes off his shirt, and I'm like, if she had a fit about that, like, it's really not.
She's like,
shocking.
Works for me, and I'm like, yeah, because you're
average.
Normal.
That's nothing new. Why would you? If she got upset about it, been like, okay, whatever.
Of course, she would never get upset about anything because she's in this movie.
Yeah,
and
the women only exist in this movie to further the men.
Yes,
and not just the main characters. Every female character and the side characters.
This movie is for guys. That's the only type of person I know that would probably enjoy this.
We were definitely not the target demographic
No.
this film. But yeah, they hook up, and Owen Wilson chills in the car, and it's Peter, right? That's the name, Peter, Ed Helms' character. I didn't remember their names.
Ed Helms is Peter.
Ed Helms, yeah.
Yeah.
Comes with Dunkin' Donuts, which I was like, where's the Dunkin' Donuts? But okay, you walked there and walked back to the car. You could have driven to the Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know why that bothered me. I was like, you don't know what he wanted. He slept in the car all night. Like, ask him what donut he wants. But he's so revitalized from banging this chick.
He's so cheerful. He's a changed person.
It was, and they're like, oh, you got, like, what was it? The diamond in the rough, something like that. The purely one night stand, the mystical we fucked and never met again. Every man dreams of this. That was basically the conversation.
So they go to this dude's house. They find the house. They're like, where's Sparkly Pete? Where's this guy? And it turns out they're at his funeral.
Yeah.
And they meet the family, and they are so stereotypical, like Bostonians.
Yeah.
There's even an Irish priest.
Yeah, doing
at the funeral.
The father, McGillicuddy.
Yes.
Like, accent. It was... Again, like, I was surprised. I shouldn't have been surprised they did that, but then it happened, and I was like, oh, okay, no, we're doing this.
The movie was like, what fun people are they going to be with now? Oh, you know how entertaining those people are? Ugh.
It's like a bad National Lampoon's movie.
Yes.
That's it. I finally was able to get it.
And while they're there, they notice that Sarah is there, and they find out that he or she is his daughter. And so Ed Helms starts freaking out and is like, I had sex with my sister. And so Owen Wilson is like, I don't know what he was trying to do, like, get him to tell her, like, he thought it would still work out.
Yeah, so Ed Helms, I don't remember what happened that caused him the panic. I just remember him running, knocking over a drink, and then the brother super offended.
It fell on, like, another one of the women there, and he's like, why aren't you going to apologize? They get in this scuffle.
Yeah, and it's the very bro, like, oh, you know, blah, 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 talking big shit, and then eventually Ed Helms apologizes, and they're like, oh, it's too late to apologize. I'm like, oh, okay.
There's a lot of bloody noses and black eyes in this.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, men don't express their feelings in a healthy manner, so they hit each other. Is that fair?
That was kind of the feel I got, yeah. It never showed, like, why that was bad. It was just like, oh, the injury from the fight, a bloody nose, a little bruise under my eye.
But it's only when the men are interacting with each other. Like, you see Owen Wilson manage a tender moment by him, like, with his wife, or soon-to-be wife. You see Ed Helms managing to do, like, a tender moment by himself. But if it's two guys interacting, it's just no fists the whole time.
Right.
And
yes.
Cat Williams being like, y'all are stupid.
Yeah. And so, the cop who died, his brother, the uncle of the family, he comes out and figures out what's going on. He's like, no, he's not your dad. Let me tell you who is. It's this veterinarian in your hometown.
Yeah. And there comes the Chairman Meow jokes.
Yes.
Several of them. The veterinarian who Owen Wilson blames for putting down their cat. Joke is the cat was just being put to sleep. He didn't intentionally kill their cat.
And Owen Wilson still believes it.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha.
Humor. So they can't believe that their mom kept, the veterinarian secret. So they drive back to their hometown and go to the veterinarian's office in what is ultimately the weirdest cameo of the movie. Because out comes Christopher Walken wearing too much makeup.
So much makeup.
Like, I thought it was me until you mentioned it on the way back.
I thought it was going to be part of his character or the plot.
Yeah, it was so obviously, like, not well lit, or something was, like, the skin tone wasn't working.
Either he requested it or their makeup artist was not given the right information. Yeah, it's possible.
Like, this is towards the end of the shoot. Nobody cared. Christopher was there for a day. We gotta knock this out.
Basically, yeah. Ali Wong is in this too.
Yeah.
Again, random female character who, and again, it was fine. They had some awkward jokes that were just weird in the script. Something about, like, what were they talking about when she got there and she wouldn't let them see Christopher Walken?
There was, like, the appointment thing. And then they kind of try to barge in, and Christopher Walken's on the phone calling Meryl Streep.
They had
Meryl Streep, Glenn Close.
And so they're like, "We're your sons. You were with our mom." And then Ali Wong, the joke is that she is dating Christopher Walken.
No.
And she was like, "I thought you didn't want children."
In what universe? No, that doesn't happen. It just was weird. It just was, again, like one of those things where it's like, let's force a joke in there.
She's fine. She's so hilarious on American Housewife.
She just
it's
got
the
some
script.
Shitty dialogue.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, like, a lot of people like to shit on Owen Wilson. I'll just say this now. I like Owen Wilson in some things. He is not a bad actor, but he gets very pigeonholed into being Owen Wilson caricatures.
Yeah.
And this is the lowest point of Owen Wilson caricatures, in my opinion.
Worse than You, Me, Dupree?
See, I avoided that, so jury's still out. But in my personal film-going Owen Wilson experience, I don't hate cars. A lot of people hate cars. I think he's fine as Lightning McQueen. Like, whatever. I try not to shit on him. But at this point, I wanted to shake him by the shoulders and be like, you can do better, Owen. Like, it's literally like, if somebody just tried to do a really bad Owen Wilson impression, the whole movie.
And here's a weird thing. So Christopher Walken wants to escape the situation. He does not want to talk about it, and he tries to escape. And they're saying, no, let's talk about this. They get distracted by a cat that's on the operating table.
Oh my God, I forgot.
And they're like, whoa. And they're like, come on, get Christopher Walken. Don't let him leave. And they're like, they have to stop. They have to stop, and their attention goes to the cat, whose balls are really big.
Like fist-sized balls. Again, out of nowhere. And there's these jokes that happen like this where for some reason we're going to focus on these balls forever long, or like these traveling montages where it feels like they knew they had nothing to get from point A to point B. They didn't want to transition, so they forced in something that didn't work to fill the time.
Yes.
So balls, big cat balls, like the biggest cat balls you ever damn seen. And gives Christopher Walken enough time to try running out, but he's really old, so it's slow and sad, and that's basically the joke.
It's been a long time since the Fat Boy Slim weapon of choice video. So yeah, and then Owen Wilson shoots him with a tranquilizer gun that was in his office. So they bring him to, and Glenn Close comes over because he managed to call her before he got knocked out. And Glenn Close is like, look, you don't have a dad, basically. I adopted you from this woman who died in childbirth because she worked at like a Planned Parenthood or something like that.
A women's shelter type situation.
So they don't know who their mom is. They don't know who their dad is.
Like, the name that they have might not even be her real name.
And they talked about it for so long. What was her name? It was Jenny. What's her last name? We don't know. Jenny may not have been her name. Like,
Jenny from the block. We don't know.
It just went on and on. And I was like, okay, cool. We
get
can
it. We get it.
this.
Glenn Close was your real mom because she raised you. You don't need a dad. You just need to be better dads yourself. Fade out to 1 year later.
1 year later.
Where we have the Deus app machina that happens. How did we solve all our problems with money and everything? What's going to happen to Owen Wilson's character? They become app developers over this year after learning about their mother. And so they have the universe is telling me something app that they do, and now they make lots of money. That's app money.
It's Cat Williams, Magical Negro, who comes up on your phone. Oh, the universe is calling on your iPhone.
Yeah.
And you answer it, and you get this little, like, short video. And it's just Cat Williams giving you good advice.
And they're telling the story to Owen Wilson's twins, and it goes on really long. And then you learn this. But then you really learn this happened, and then this, and it goes on again like there are other jokes.
They're just retelling it. Yeah. Also, you find out that Sarah from the bar and Ed Helms ended up being together. They're playing football on the beach with the son. The son is the worst actor in the world.
And their relationship is magically repaired. You don't know what effort he actually fucking put into it, but the son is like, I love you, Dad.
At one point, we have 3 women on the screen at once.
And none of them, I don't think, address each other.
No, they're speaking to the guys.
Because that's what matters.
It's the, like, the only personality trait that Owen Wilson's girlfriend had was that she did that weird, like, Hawaiian greeting with Ed Helms.
Do we need to talk about this? Because
when you first are introduced to Owen Wilson and his girlfriend, he's like, oh my god, we've been together for 6 months, she's so amazing. She comes up and she's, like, gorgeous. And she puts her forehead to Ed Helms' forehead. And, wait, I have not seen Moana. Is this in Moana?
I can't tell, but it's basically...
Is this a real thing?
It's one of those things where you don't know if it's a real thing. It's clearly depicted in a very facetious, racist, exaggerated manner because it gets very, woo. And then Owen Wilson creeps too. And
they try to make her seem exotic right away, even though she's definitely not. She's a British accent.
I thought she was Australian.
Oh, maybe it was Australian.
I mean, it could be wrong, but just sounded Aussie to me. But yeah.
Sarah has no qualities really about her. The only thing you know her from is that she could have been his sister. That was gross. And she has this, like, rude family that curses all the time because they're Irish Catholic. And then Glenn Close is like, I feel so bad because I was like, all we heard about you was, like, sex stuff.
You're a slut.
Yeah, you're a slut, and you didn't tell your kids the truth, and now you're this hippie, like,
and
granny.
her unfortunate outfits and wigs that, like, she comes in and, like, I don't know, the nautical, like, fish scarf really bothered me. I'm like, why are you
I kind of want to look like Glenn Close when I'm older. That would be nice. I would wear that stuff.
I would be Glenn Close circa 101 Dalmatians. That would be my choice.
No, I like the soft touch Glenn Close from this movie. I'll look like that when I'm older, okay?
So you better hold your end of the bargain. If you do it, I'll be 101 Dalmatians.
Okay.
Great.
So, anyway, that was father figures.
Real quick. Pick your brother Sona. Are you an Ed Helms or are you an Owen Wilson? I don't know why I thought about this the whole time. Like, of the two.
Which typical bro dude are you? Laid back Hawaiian royalties shaka bra who's super considerate but like kind of too nice, so you're like, you're out of touch, man. Or Ed Helms, who is the voice of reason for most of this. Like, yeah, angry, going through a midlife crisis, makes my son watch a football game from 1970.
Yeah, I think the joke is it's supposed to be like a Terry Bradshaw game, too. It probably was. I don't know sports ball, so the game they mentioned, it could have been.
So much money, so many actors. Someone just, like, wanted to get their kid's script made into a movie. I don't know. Man, that sounds horrible. Yeah. It's probably not written by a woman.
It's not. The director was this is his first movie. I guess he did the cinematography for, like, the Hangover movies. So, which I guess really, like, explains a lot of the dip in tone, because directors have to maintain tone a lot.
Yes.
And this was, again, you couldn't tell if it, like, how satirical it was trying to be.
This was not the story for that kind of cinematography. No. It just didn't mesh well.
I wonder if it's one of those movies where, like, they saw the dailies and immediately had to do rewrites and change the tone. Like, you can tell something went on. Something went on in this movie, but yeah.
And at the end, you get the credits with this, like, I don't know, Windows Movie Maker type, thing.
These photo collages, and it's really, like, emotional, but
it's scenes from the movie.
But then they have all the other photographs, which
I'm guessing the people who worked on the film,
like, their family photos. I'm like, this is not the movie you do your emotional family.
That's where I was like,
that's
the Parent Trap.
You know what did that recently? Coco does that with if you stay for the credits. They show families of loved ones that passed away, and you're just like, yes, it's so beautiful. You guys cared about the subject matter.
But this is like a rated R film.
It didn't earn it.
I know. I was like, at the end, I was like, we are family. Like, come on. Like, they might as well.
Yeah.
Like, give...
This is ABBA for bros.
Give Kool and the Gang more money. Why not?
Yeah, this was definitely ABBA for bros. Can't have music. Just, this is how we're gonna do it. Try to solve it. Ugh. I give it 2 out of 10 Ed Helms. Oh, Ed Helms is definitely my brother. Like, of the two, I'm definitely an Ed Helms.
I give it, probably like 4 out of 10 Glenn Close aquarium scarves.
Those are too many of those aquarium scarves out in the wild.
I groaned a lot. Like, I was sitting there next to you, and I was just like, I kept saying things like, stop doing this.
At first I thought it was me, because I was shifting in my seat, and I'm like, no, we're both experiencing this movie. Just like this, we're like, no.
I had, like, the urge to, like, kick the seat in front of me, like, so much.
There was a guy, I haven't been in a movie where somebody walked out in a while. There was a man that passed us 2/3 of the movie that did not return. Like, before the last act. Like, and I'm like, I feel you, bro. Good luck on your journey.
So, thank you for joining us on our first podcast for Father Figures. we look forward to doing this again. So hopefully this works as a hobby.
Thanks for listening to me ramble on, because it's just going to happen a lot.
We'll see you next time.